Alrighty then. Defiance. This is the sequel to Defiant. Now, Defiant had a professional narrator, and Defiance, I will have a professional narrator, Chris Abernathy, take care of that once it's finished. But right now, it's in draft form. I'm almost 90,000 words in. There's still a little ways to go, of course. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to read the first scene in chapter 1 from Defiance, the sequel to Defiant. The blurb: a worldwide conspiracy dismantles civilization one city at a time. What could you do about it? Who would you leave behind? And then the rest of the blurb, you can see that if you check out the pre-order page on Defiance. Let's see. What chapter 1? Chapter 1, Mr. Mayor. Winston Churchill said, "In failure, defiance, in victory, magnanimity." It kept going through my mind as I wanted to be magnanimous. I also wanted to be in the woods away from civilization. "I'm not playing," I declared, hammering my fist into my hand. I wanted to think that I had a choice. After the rest of America tried to choke us into submission, we continued to pay in cash. We continued to resist, and we won. That had brought attention that we didn't want. My chief of staff, Gloria, and her assistant, Doug, who was also my advisor on all things logistics, looked at me impatiently while waiting for the real answer. I didn't want to concede. An official visit by 3 mayors from outside? That's the Alaskan word for any place outside of Alaska. Seattle, Denver, and Des Moines. I didn't want to meet with them. My city had a solid 30,000 residents. Those 3 represented 200,000 to nearly 800,000 residents. I didn't understand what they thought they'd see in Fairbanks to help their sprawling urban centers. Gloria continued, "They'll be here tomorrow evening. We'll meet them at the airport and whisk them away to their hotel. They'll meet with you first thing the following morning." Gloria smiled. "One more thing. You'll like it even if you don't, so you might as well smile and be friendly." Why did I surround myself with people who are so mean? "You pronounced pragmatic wrong. Lighten up. It could be worse. You could have to do my job." She waved over her shoulder as she walked out of the mayor's office. Doug followed her, shaking his head. The trials into the illegal acts of my predecessors hadn't even started. If they were acquitted, I'd still be in office because of the special election, but I'd have to watch my back. I never did trust politicians. I had a hard time being one. My wife kept me grounded. "I never asked for this," I called after them. The city was still a mess, reeling from the dependency experiment that it was subjected to. I'm going to change that to had been. At least we had the spigots turned back on and commerce was rolling once more, albeit far more slowly than I liked. I grabbed my jacket and headed for the door. My receptionist looked at me, down at my schedule, and then back to me. She pointed at the schedule. I had meetings every minute of every day. The petitioners and butt snorkelers would have to learn to do without me. "I'm going to the homeless kitchen. I'll be back in an hour." "But Mr. Mayor," Beatrice, who was the master of administration and my new secretary, stabbed her finger helplessly at the schedule on her desk. "Tell them to wait or start without me. In any case, I won't be here until later." I felt for her because I didn't make her job easy. I was ungovernable, which I embraced with every fiber of my being. "I'll bring you back something for lunch. What would you like?" "I'd like you to be here, so I don't have to deal with angry people." I nodded. "I understand. I'll bring you fried chicken." "Don't forget the coleslaw this time," she replied. It hadn't been the first time I bribed her to cover my absence. I didn't see how sitting in the office and sharing inane pleasantries accomplished anything. "I tell you what, while I'm gone, create a form that people can fill out. What's your problem? What's your proposed solution? How much will it cost? How many people will it involve? And how much time will you be contributing at no cost to the city to help resolve your problem?" That should weed out the pretenders and wannabes. "That's rather blunt," Beatrice replied. "How much time do we waste with the ridiculous? Governing has become too hands-on. I'm going to make it hands-off." "No, you're going to make me do it." "Make them fill out the form and then chase them away." Hey, an idea popped into my mind. Beatrice was undoubtedly already ahead of me. Make an online version so they don't have to come in at all. You can chase them away without having to look at them. She tipped her glasses down to look at me over the top of them. I'd preferred my life of anonymity and low stress. I hadn't asked for any of this, but when it came to time to act, too few stood up to be counted. Too few resisted. In the end, one was left standing on the chests of the former assembly, mayor, sheriff, and chief of police. They were in prison waiting for a trial that couldn't come soon enough. The storm had come and gone. A new world existed. The old world had returned to rest atop the destruction wrought by the overthrown. Some people had died. Many were hungry. Cupboards were bare and the money was tight. And money was tight. You see it in the raw, fixing it as I go. The homeless kitchen covered the gap for many people. Laura was there helping out. I couldn't hire her for the mayor's office because of an anti-nepotism law on the books. That was a good thing, I guess. Others would have abused it, but laws were made for those kinds of people. Good people didn't need those laws. That only protected them from the nature of people who would take advantage. The type of person who was happy to exploit loopholes was the same person who created the loopholes in the first place. I felt dirty every time I stepped into City Hall. I shouldn't have. I'd purged it from the influence of the previous regime, those who'd bought their way into a position of power. That's when Fairbanks became a test to see how far the people would bend before they broke. I was surprised by how much we tolerated. No one wanted a civil war, and the authorities counted on that. What they didn't anticipate was that someone would assail them in their chambers while undercutting their authority by removing their subversion of the local police. It was mind-boggling what they'd accomplished in such a short time. While I seemed to be quagmired in bureaucracy and unable to move anything, entrenched players saw new power and opportunity. I just wanted out of the mayor's seat, but since I was there, I'd do the best job I could without being trapped in my office. I started my truck and the radio came on to the news station. I laughed. It's what my dad would have had on. I used to play the hard rock station, heavy metal for relaxation and distraction. I reached up to change it, but a man was speaking, the one who ran for mayor against me in the special election. KFDX interview with Clint Carstairs continues. Mayor Cory Beringer continues to struggle. Without the ability to use his fists or force of arms to get his way, his leadership is sending our great city in a downward spiral, from which we may never recover. I'm not saying there's buyer's remorse, but we should call for a new election, now that the citizens have seen what they voted for. The office of mayor needs a professional. This is no time for amateur hour. Hold the mayor accountable. Demand change. Demand the help you deserve. By all that's holy, I grumbled. I punched the button to change the station. Ozzy Osbourne's low tenor filled the cab. I hate politics. And there you go. The first 8 minutes. 8 minutes of Defiance. Hopefully that sets the hook. It's a lot of background information just in case you didn't read or listen to Defiant. But anyway, there you are. You see my process. You see how I do it. And I hope you enjoyed this much of the story so far, even though it's a lot of background trash and garbage. But it gets better from here. Peace, fellow humans.